Morning. This morning's session is really applicable for that moment in your business when you're about to do something new. So you're about to launch your business, or you've got a new product or service within your existing business that you need to get out there, and you've got version 1, whether that version 1 is a really clear idea, or it's a prototype product, or it's kind of a website that pretends to sell something that you haven't quite done yet, whatever that scenario is, but very early stage. It's your own business, so it's a very personal feeling, so you're probably quite scared. You might so far have only talked about it either with yourself or your family or the team that you've got around you, or your cat or whoever yourself. But there's a moment when you need to actually break outside of that comfort zone and go and speak with real people who hopefully one day would want to buy this thing. So that's the time that we're talking about. Is that a time that you guys are, is that a relevant time for you? A bit further forward, so you've got an initial, but because the other thing that happens is when you are further along that journey and then you realise that something about your product or service needs to change because you're learning and you're starting to get that feedback, you end up in that same moment again of, crap, I need to speak to more people about this. And what we're going to talk about today is a way of starting those kinds of conversations, but in a way that has a far longer positive impact on your business, because these very early relationships that you build are key in you growing and understanding the nature of your business, product or service, and how you can propel the marketing further forward. So using some of the lean techniques we'll talk about in a minute. We're going to keep this session pretty practical, and I'm going to use examples from a business I've been working with for a couple of years now called Givey. And Givey is essentially a social donation platform. So it's a little bit like Just Giving, but hopefully better. One of the reasons it's better is 100% of the money that gets donated through it goes to the charity. And the reason we can do that is we've built a business product that allows businesses to match and support their employees and their customers. So it matches the money they give to charities that they care about. The company's brand gets included to it. It gets shared through Facebook and Twitter, so everybody knows that that business is one of the good guys. So we've developed this business product that we sell, and that's Givey. So the examples I'm going to use, we had the very first version of this business product came out of the development team in end of August, September last year, and I was in this moment. We had a new product, we didn't know, we'd done some initial research and we kind of thought it, but again, small businesses, you can't stop and commission a market research project for a year. You kind of have to go on your own gut feel and your own belief. So that's the position that we were in. And these very, very early conversations, there's some critical things to bear in mind. And the first thing, which sounds very simple, but I've seen this time and time again go wrong, make sure you're trying to start these conversations with the right people. We're all very, very resource poor. We don't have that much time. We certainly don't have that much money. So it's worth measure twice, cut once. With Givey, we were looking to speak to, we decided, and again, be very, very specific. If you've got a B2B, saying you're going to sell to small businesses or, businesses in a certain sectors, that's not specific enough. So with Givey, we went through a process where we defined and refined who our marketplace was, and we decided we wanted to go for businesses between 500 and 5,000 staff. Within those businesses, we wanted to identify those that were already trying to promote the work that they were doing with charities. And then moving into those organisations, we realised that there were 3 types of people that could be the decision makers on buying the product. They were either head of HR, and to do with kind of employee engagement, because they realised that supporting the causes that their employees care about is a really good way to deepen relationships. So there was possible HR contact. It could have been someone in CSR, someone who was already in charge of their charitable giving, or it could have been someone for the marketing department, because with Givey, every time the business engages in charity, their brand gets in it and gets promoted. So we didn't really know which of those kind of contexts were the right people, so we had to figure that out. Once you figure out who the right people are, make sure that the approach you are taking, you are asking about their problems, their needs. Your product, your service, your business shouldn't even be a part of the early conversation, because you've got 2 of these and 1 of these. And one of the most fundamental principles of marketing is to build your insight and your understanding of your customers' problems. So ask questions. You need to understand the people that you think are going to be buying your product. You need to know what is the thing that keeps them up at night. What is the thing that when they're driving to work at the moment is that niggling thing that they just can't get off their mind because that's the problem. What is the decision they could take at work that might get them sacked if they get it wrong? Even if those don't relate exactly to your product, if you can demonstrate an empathy for those moments and find for those really important things and find a way of tracking those back to your product, to your solution, your marketing is going to be far more effective. So you want to start conversations with the right people based on their problems, not your solution. So where did we start? Well, I started for this was a B2B product. So I started looking at various LinkedIn groups where these CSR guys or these HR employee engagement guys or these digital marketing guys were hanging out. And I picked a few of them to get started. So some were CSR related, some were marketing related, some were kind of employee engagement related. And I'd started doing this in advance of the product being ready. So I got in and started joining in some of the conversations, some of the discussion groups happening. I found that there were actually a lot of discussions going on around how businesses could be engaging their employees in different ways. Should businesses be using social media? These days it's us that build organisations' brands by what we say about them on social media. So all of a sudden, for these companies starting to understand what we care about and support us and building individual relationships is really important. And I found discussions about these things, so I started joining in. And after I started joining in conversations, I started posting some of my own discussions. And again, the discussions were about me trying to find out more about the problems that these professionals, my prospects, faced. They weren't about, I've launched a new service because they want to have a look. It was very much based on asking them about their problems. At that point, there's a few things, again, that are really important. Be honest. At this early stage, more often than not, you know you've got a few wires hanging out, whether they're proverbial or real, depending on what it is that your business is. At this stage, you are not trying to sell a product. You are trying to sell the start of a relationship. You're at the very, very first stage of the funnel. So don't try to pretend your product or service is something that it's not. Now, that's a really difficult thing, but actually, if you're brave enough to do it, the relief that comes with that, because it's honest and it's real, makes your relationship building capacity much stronger because you're going on a really open, true footing. A lot of startups, especially kind of younger guys doing startups, will say to me then, but isn't it really difficult if you've exposed your weaknesses, isn't it? No one's going to buy it, are they? Well, actually, that's not true, because if you're having conversations with the right people who are experts in their game and can actually help you refine and understand your product and your market better, they love this. They love being seen as the experts and being asked if their brains can pick. And they want to be part of making solutions better if they genuinely do help solve their problems. So that's why if we're speaking about their problems, we all love a rant. It's human nature to love to rant about the things that bother us. So if you're really honest and you build a really truthful relationship, they're far more likely to buy because they know that the product will refine and improve. But people do buy from people. So be very, very honest if there's wires hanging out the back. And from there, be flattering. So that sounds a bit odd, but I have not yet failed to start a conversation when it started with something like, I've been looking for UK experts in such and such a field. Your name came up straight away. Is there any way I can pick your brains? Because straight away, it's flattering. Or if you're going on a referral, if I asked you to introduce me to half a dozen people, half a dozen business leaders who were really up on their charitable giving, and my introduction to them is, I asked some of my networks who they felt were the most ethical business leaders they knew. Your name came back from Hugh. People want to, open with a flattering remark that makes them want to have a conversation. And don't finish with a question for them to buy your product. Finish with something that's very, very easy for them to say yes for. So, could I grab 5 minutes for a chat? Can I buy you a cup of coffee? Is there any chance you could give me a little bit of feedback on this? Your first interventions, these early conversations, make sure you close with a question that's a yes-no question that makes it very, very easy for them to take the conversation forward, and make it one that's easy for them to say yes for to. So as an example, one of the LinkedIn groups that proved very successful, where there was actually traction and people responding to some of the discussion points, was a discussion group around employee engagement. And this chap, Rich, seemed particularly keen to rant about the issues, and he was having some difficulties in his roles at a transport company called Under Midland. 2,500 staff. He was the employee engagement manager, our sweet spot. We were starting to realise our assumptions were correct. And I'd asked some questions about, Is it difficult? Is it difficult for you as head of employee engagement to find technologies to make your job easier? Because obviously that's what we had. Has anyone got any experiences they can share? Rich came back with a big rant, which I responded to. And then at the end, yada, 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 and I'm saying to him, we're trying to do this thing. So asked about his problems, he responds, and then I say to him, we're trying to do this thing. If you'd like to lend your expert eye to this and give me any feedback, we'd be really eager to learn, which is true. It's quite a humbling position, and that's I know I will have much more success in future sales if I'm listening now and understanding their problems more. So I asked Rich to take a look. Rich comes back, I like it. Probably needs some more information on how the interface works up front and how it saves finance teams time, because that was his problem. He's spending lots and lots of time managing a program. Our product makes it quicker. So he's saying to me, yeah, you should probably up those messages, make that clearer. Fantastic feedback for me. I go away with the team, and that's exactly what we do. A couple of weeks later, I'd been on holiday, and this is subtle but an important thing in these early conversations, because we want to start turning them to some sort of commercial advantage. So I get back from holiday. Hi Rich, just back from a couple of weeks away. Great, the sunshine continues at home for a change. I think you mentioned a few weeks ago that you may be interested in take a look or trialling the Give You for Business platform. If you'd like to, you can sign up for free or give me your line and I'll help to chat you through it. This is a sales technique now, so we're starting to evolve this conversation. There is an undertone to all these early conversations. Of course they know that I'm a provider and he's a potential buyer, but because it's been very open and honest, and I have wires hanging out and he's helped me and I'm helping him because he needs to do something at work and he knows I understand his problem, I can start to shift it on to be a bit more direct. So, did you mention you want to trial it? Works. Even if they haven't had that conversation, it works in telemarketing, it works in these sort of conversations. What does he come back with? I love it. Let me talk to some people at work. So we've moved that conversation over about 21st of July, 24th of June, so about a month. It's been a very open, natural conversation. It's not been hammered, it's been very loose. It's all been through LinkedIn. There might have been 1 or 2 emails outside. But that conversation has moved on to the point where he signed up for trial, had a quick look, and now he's bought in and he's going to speak to some people about it. I can take my foot off the pedal then, and I don't pester him. It was probably about a month afterwards. I got back in touch, he'd had a conversation, I said, shall I pop, because they're based in Birmingham, shall I pop and we can have a coffee and I can speak to some of your colleagues. They bought the product and became our biggest client, and that probably followed. There were wires hanging out of this thing. It was a very, very, very early version of the product. But he knew that, and actually, because he was quite clearly a leading figure on LinkedIn, he was driving conversations, he was wanting to innovate. So these early conversations very easily lead on to client relationships. So from very first conversation in June, he started his trial and I think they became a paying client within about 2.5 months. That was from a standing start. So when you're having these early conversations, be open, be truthful, let the wires hang out, but have a commercial goal in mind. The other thing when you're having these conversations that's critical, listen really, 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 really carefully, because you will have a set of language that you'll be using to describe your business or your product or your service based on your perception of it as the developer and the business owner, not based on your perception as a client. So listen really keenly to the language they say about when you're describing your product, and listen out for this phrase. So you've done your pitch, you've done your elevator pitch, you've let them know what it is. They respond to you and say, oh, so what you mean is it does X, Y, and Z. Those are gold dust moments, because what they've just done is they've internalized your product, your business, and they've fed it back to you in a way that's meaningful and connects with them. And if it's meaningful and it connects with them, and they're the right person, i.e. they're the person you want to sell to, that's how you should be describing it in your marketing and in your future conversations. So for example, those conversations that I had, and I had various conversations on LinkedIn, not all of them obviously led to a client, but I probably would spend a couple of hours a week on LinkedIn. So for me to get our biggest client out of it, that's a good investment of my time. But the other thing that came out of it is it was very clear that this employee engagement space was the sweet spot for us. So we listened, and all of the phrases that they used, I had conversations with people, and again, because I'm trying to help them. I've spent a lot of time understanding what their issues are, and then I'm speaking to them saying, we've got the bare bones of something that could really make your life easier. Can you tell me more? Can we discuss what's the most important things? What are the biggest problems we can help you with? Internal communications, building my employer brand. getting team fundraising, so it's not about individuals as a company, it's teams. All of these phrases and things that they were coming, we used to build a specific landing page. So then we're starting to move from conversation into marketing. When we bought a small database of, I think there was about 250 HR directors. We sent a little email campaign out to a targeted landing page, written in the language of their peers, in languages pointing out things they understood. And I think we had a 15% conversion rate from people doing that site, and because of this conversation. So you're having these conversations, but you're listening all of the time, and you're translating those messages into your marketing materials. So building landing pages for discrete groups based on the conversations we've had is a very, very effective tool. I noticed about 18 months ago that Money Saving Expert had an article on the best charity platforms to use. And I wanted to be on it, so I got in touch with them and I followed the relationship up every 3 or 4 months, kept them abreast of our progress. We've now got this many charities on board, have a look at some of our fundraisers. So it took a long, long time. And then about end of February this year, they got in touch with me saying, we're about to update our pages, we've been watching you guys, it looks like you're doing some stuff. Can you complete this questionnaire? Can we do an analysis of your site? Absolutely, no problem. And then this happened. So 18 months after having the conversation, we got listed on Money Saving Expert as the top UK donation platform straight away that very day. So you can see, this is the safe choice. So this is why I started this conversation, because this was our competition, and I couldn't say use us, not Just Giving. So for every tenner that you give on Just Giving, if you complete your gift aid declaration, by the time they've taken their charges and whatnot, £11.74 drops into the charity's purse. Whereas with Givey, literally every single penny of it does, because we make money by selling this matching platform to the businesses. So the day this happened, it went mental. And the downside to it was, it's their schedule, their publishing schedule. I didn't know when they were going to do this, so we weren't particularly ready, and we dropped a few bollocks, but that doesn't matter. But all of a sudden, this conversation over 18 months, and conversation, it was a spot every 4 months, it wasn't a, everyday kind of thing, led to them publishing us as the top UK platform. Activity on the site, this was, we'd tried various things that were probably quite time intensive, marketing efforts that take a lot of money. We got to March when it happened, and you can see this traffic kind of fourfold on average, kind of traffic went up. But not just that, the traffic was really, really targeted traffic. So we used to have a homepage conversion. So people landing on for every 100 people landing on our homepage, maybe one of them would sign up and create an account. So we kind of had a conversion rate of about 1%. For the first month of this, the homepage conversion rate was 20%, and it sustained at over 15%. Because the quality of the traffic that's come through is it's spot on. These people are wanting to fundraise for a platform. So traffic kind of went 3 or 4-fold, but critically the conversion rate went up 15-fold, and the activity on the platform, the actual people creating fundraisers and donating, this was when it happened, skyrocketed. We had kind of a couple of weeks where this initial sign up, then they were doing activity, and then so they kind of signed up, picked their charity, sorted their profile pages out, and then skyrocketed. But it's been sustained. And so activity, we now have about 350 to 400 people signing up on the platform every day. Now, if you think of the marketing effort that it would have been required, and the A/B testing and the split testing on the homepage to see if pink or blue made them sign up, all of that, the marketing effort and the time and the money it would have taken versus this conversation route, like I say before, the right people, the right conversations. There was only 1 or 2 platforms that I wanted us to be listed on, and the impact that's had has been phenomenal. And it's all from this point of just starting the right conversations with a commercial goal in mind. So it takes patience, and it's very unpredictable, and that's where, more structured marketing and direct marketing has the advantage, because, run a campaign, average 2%, right, now we'll buy more, we'll run it. It's predictable. This is less predictable. But it doesn't have to be time intensive. So to run this alongside your marketing efforts can be hugely, hugely rewarding. So yeah, just to recap, make sure you are asking the right people, and you can see from those 2 examples the importance of that. You don't need to be having conversations with 100 people. You want to be having conversations with 5 of the right people. If you are not sure whether person A, person B, or person C is the right people, pick the best you can possibly imagine of both of them. Ask them about their problem, not try to sell them your solution. Be really honest in those people, because if you've picked the right people, They want to help develop the right solutions to their problems, so they will be really, really helpful. Be flattering, because it is the easiest way to open conversations. You know, I've heard you're the expert in this. Can I pick your brains? I'd really appreciate your feedback. Hugh says you're the best person he knows that does this. Could I grab 5 minutes? So be flattering to open the conversations, but close with the easy yes. Could you possibly give me a little bit of feedback? Can I buy you a coffee to grab 5 minutes of your time? What do you think your boss would tell them? Little easy yeses, and if you keep doing easy yeses, the relationship gets stronger, so what you can justify asking for gets bigger, if that makes sense. Listen. So when you're having these early conversations, pay very, very close attention, especially when they say that phrase. Oh, so what you mean is, listen to that, that's gold dust, because you can use that. But whilst you're being open and honest and humble, you've got to have that element of ambition. You know, achievable bullshit is a phrase. It's one in my very much younger days. Perhaps I used to drive more, but it hammers the message home. You've got to have the confidence. Make sure it is achievable. I'm not advocating just bullshit, but you've got to have that level sometimes where you can push the boundaries, because like I say, no one else is going to do that for your business. So you've got to always have an aim on where these conversations could go commercially, and don't you know, what do they say up here? Shy Ben's getting out. So you know, make sure you have got that level of ambition.